What more can you tell us, Dan, about the latest developments that have occurred in the past 24 hours? Israel has accused Hamas of 2 violations of the ceasefire over the past day.
Well, the details are as you've reported. What I can add is the context where essentially this is part of a bigger picture where Hamas has refused to disarm. You talk about moving on in the second phase of the agreement. That second phase depends on Hamas disarming. Israel only agreed to the end of the war in exchange for that. And of course, there are other points that have to happen. And, one could say that Israel itself isn't implementing the other stages, which would include an opening of the Rafah crossing and a withdrawal from the rest of Gaza, which is largely unpopulated, but which Israel still controls, half the strip. And of course, reforms in a PA in the beginning of a process, the Palestinian Authority, and the beginning of a process that might lead to talks on Palestinian independence and many fine things. But everything is predicated on Hamas disarming. And I fear that the Trump administration has slightly taken their eye off the ball, because if that doesn't happen, if Hamas doesn't disarm, then nothing will follow. And critically for the Palestinians, that includes reconstruction of Gaza. I do not know any third party that is willing to put money into Gaza for reconstruction when Hamas is running the place and obviously is going to build more tunnels and use it to smuggle weapons and by via drone or however, and to rearm and to consolidate control via patronage over the people of Gaza. It's a true tragedy for the Palestinians that Hamas is holding on and seems to think that it might have gotten away with this. I think the U.S. needs to make clear to relevant players in the Arab world, like especially Qatar, Turkey, and to a degree Egypt, that they simply have to have a come to Jesus or Muhammad moment with Hamas and explain that, at least in Gaza, they must hand over their weapons. As for Israel, Israel needs to get out of its own way and understand that the coming future government of Gaza will involve the Palestinian Authority. The current government in Israel is unable to handle that for internal political reasons, but with any luck, they'll be replaced in a coming election.
Dan, just staying with you, the stages of the phases of the ceasefire deal, the disarmament of Hamas is part of phase 2 of the ceasefire deal. Of course, what hasn't been fulfilled by Hamas is the return of the final body. Is Israel legally or politically justified in freezing the next phase over the return of one final batch of remains?
I mean, the agreement doesn't really have the force of law, so this isn't really about legality here. Politically, it would be difficult in Israel to do that because the advantage of completing the implementation of the 20-point plan for Israel is enormous. And even though everyone wants the return of the last hostage body, of course, and obviously it should be done, and clearly pressure should be brought to bear, it's difficult to see that issue standing in the way of the tremendous benefits to all sides of completing the end of war plan, if it really came down to that. But right now it does not come down to that. Right now it's something else entirely. Hamas's violations, in addition to the non-return of Gvili's body, include other things where you could portray it as a tit for tat, someone fired back. The main violation, the critical, fundamental, essential, central thing is that Hamas is clearly projecting that they're not going to disarm and let go of Gaza. And that is a recipe for renewal of the war at one point or another. And Israel can just sit back and wait to be provoked. And because Hamas has provocation in their DNA, it's the raison d'etre, it's why they exist, to fight Israel. That provocation will come. This is an incredibly delicate moment. I think it should be, one of the top goals of the U.S. administration and of the Western Alliance and of the world to make sure this happens and to pressure the Arabs, to pressure Hamas to have this happen. The Palestinian Authority certainly wants it. Instead, obviously, what we see is nonsensical American saber rattling at Denmark and Greenland. I mean, depending on U.S. administration right now to do the right thing is a tragicomic venture.